So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk, where we will be having a discussion about what is going on in the world today. Taking a look at excerpts from the news, we'll read through some news articles and have a little bit of discussion about why the world is such a damn mess. And it basically is, unfortunately, except for Dusty right here. Dusty's fine, aren't you, sweetheart? Actually, she's a very, very needy cat. Very sad acting and needs a lot of attention. Anyways, of course, you can find me on YouTube where the live portion takes place, and that's at Coffee Talk Live or at Prepper University, simultaneously broadcasting on both channels at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, as well as X, formerly known as Twitter, and that would be at Coffee Talk Chat, or Fistful of Radio, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon, as we get ready to jump off into a discussion about what's going on in the world today. And of course, I do try to read through as many of the comments as is reasonable, depending upon how many there are. And I'll go ahead and acknowledge some of the people that have shown up thus far. I see Donna Beaver is here today, reminding us to thumbs up, like, and share. Much appreciated if you guys can do that for me. Dragon is here. Boogers is here. Velvet Pilot. Brian is here. Helter is here. And of course, so is Dusty. There's Dusty. Say hi to Dusty, to everybody, Dusty. You want to get down? Is that what it is? Go ahead. Uncle is also in the room, but you can't see him. And Urban is here as we get ready to jump in. We're going to jump in and see what's going on in the world today. Big news. And Lucky Luciano is here. Lucky Luciano is here as well. The big news here today, or for the day, is taking place in New York. And this is an NBC News article. 70 New York City housing employees charged in the largest single-day bribery bust in the Department of Justice's history. Corrupt politicians and city workers in New York? I can't believe my eyes. And Cyberjack Sr. has joined us here today. Glad you could make it, as well as Armored Ghost. And Armored says, I expected the store to sell candy and flowers. They were selling pumpkins and fireworks. Well, already we're getting ready for Halloween already. Well, they're selling Valentine's stuff at the store, as well as St. Patrick's Day stuff has already been up. So 70 people. It says more than 6 employees. Yeah, that would be 70. With the New York City Housing Authority were charged with accepting cash payments in exchange for giving out contracts, federal offices or federal officials said, calling it the largest single-day bribery takedown in the Justice Department's history. 70 current and former employees allegedly received cash from contractors in exchange for New York City no-bid contracts. The U.S. Attorney Office for the Southern District of New York announced in a news release the defendants allegedly demanded over $2 million in bribe money and awarded over $13 million worth of no-bid contracts. That doesn't seem like a very good deal. It says most of the defendants, 66 of them, were arrested Tuesday in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and North Carolina on charges that include solicitation and receipt of bribes, extortion, and conspiracy. One defendant was also charged with destruction of evidence and false statements, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Unbelievable. Actually, it's not. That's the sad part. NYCHA's Chief Executive Officer Lisa Bova Hyatt said in a statement that the agency has zero tolerance for wrongful and illegal activity. Yeah, you would say that. For all we know, you're corrupt too. The individuals allegedly involved in these acts put their greed first and violated the trust of our residents, their fellow NYCHA colleagues, and all New Yorkers, Bova Hyatt said. These actions are counter to everything we stand for as a public servants and will not be tolerated in any form. You know, the funny thing is, it's been tolerated up until they get caught, hasn't it, Bova Hyatt? We will continue to work with all of our law enforcement partners to rid the authority of malfeasance. The alleged bribes happened when repairs and construction work required NYCHA, the largest public housing authority in the country, to use outside contractors. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, contractors are typically chosen via a bidding process. However, there are times when designated staff can hire a contractor of their choosing without soliciting multiple bids, the office said. Well, you know, the way to correct that is to always make it a bidding system, because I've heard in other articles, I read a couple of other articles on the subject, they are suggesting that this is an excuse to privatize this system instead of letting the state deal with it. Problem with that is, contrary to popular belief, when you privatize and you outsource, it actually ends up costing more than if the city runs it itself. Most of the time they privatize or outsource so that they can avoid liability. That's why a lot of cities and counties and states contract or subcontract now, so that they can blame someone else when something goes wrong. Also, you're suggesting that if it was a private business that was handling these contracts for you, that they wouldn't be corrupt? And then, of course, the argument for that is, well, they wouldn't be corrupt because there would be government oversight. Excuse me, government oversight is the problem in this situation, isn't it? you so you would have the same bureaucrats overseeing someone else doing the job they used to do. There's still room for bribes and corruption there. There's still room for solicitation in that. You still can't trust it. Um, I don't know what to tell you. But the quick solution would be to make sure that it's always a bid contract. That it's always a bid contract. As we catch up some of the comments here, D'Lo is here. Glad you could make it. Says it's raining in California. Dragon says all our problems come from politicians who never see any form of justice for their crimes. Congress is the worst offender. And Raccoon has joined us as well. Helter says this isn't just an issue in New York, of course, and it's not just an issue in the public sector of this industry. It's rampant throughout. Yeah, they just happened to catch these up. These guys got caught. They went a step too far with it. And it's the corruption argument that I always hear. I've used this argument with the police. So people say, well, you know, not all police officers are corrupt. Okay, that's true. Let's say, for example, you have a small town sheriff's office. It's got 9 people working in it. Okay. 7 of them are honest and 2 are corrupt officers. I guarantee you those other 7 know or at least suspect the other 2, and they say and do nothing about it, which makes them just as guilty. And it's the same thing with this. There may be honest people working in the housing authority. There may be honest, in this case, the New York City Housing Authority. There may be honest people in other facets of government. There may be honest people in the company that you work for. But there's also dishonest ones. And most of the honest ones are aware of their dishonesty and either can't or won't say anything about it. Excuse me. Part of the reason why my wife and I left the mental health facility, as some of you may recall, My wife and I both worked for mental health residential. The clients were wards of the state. They didn't go home. And there was a lot of problems there, a lot of ethical problems, that there was nothing that could be done about it. You can report it. Maybe your report will be looked at. Maybe it will be ignored. And if anything is done about it, it will most likely result in a fine for whoever's in charge, or the organization in charge will get fined. And then you'll eventually probably end up losing your job. So what's your alternative? Well, the only alternative was to just not be connected to it anymore. So we chose to walk away, and we both resigned our commission. And it's a shame when that's what it comes down to, when you're within a system that's that corrupt. And, you know, we're talking about when you look at the big picture of that, the big broad spectrum, this not correctional facility, but this mental health facility in particular, at some point in the past had received some $24,000 in fines one year. Nothing was fixed. Nothing that they were fined for changed, but the state slapped a big fat fine on them. Big deal. They could certainly afford it. And Dupsy Daisy has joined us. Glad you could make it today. Thanks for popping in as we move around. And if you listen to Eric Adams, we're going to still hang around in New York here for a minute. If you listen to Eric Adams, you'll think nothing is wrong in New York. Nothing at all. And this is actually a video clip of Eric Adams. I'm going to play it for you because this right here is why New York is a failure. Why most government is a failure, not just in the United States. This attitude right here. I'm going to play it for you. Okay. Hopefully the sound comes out right, because I mean, of course, not everybody can see you. Many of you are listening and not watching. I get that. So I try to be mindful. So let's go ahead and listen to Eric Adams putting his foot in his mouth all the way up to his knee, talking about how great his current administration is.
We are moving the needle forward. Is there more to do? You're darn right there is. But this committed team is getting it done. Look at this team, folks. Look at this team. Look at my deputy mayors. First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright. Deputy Mayor, stand up. They need to see you. Deputy Mayor Williams Isom. Deputy Mayor Mira Josie. Deputy Mayor Amazar. Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer.
Okay, so all 5 of your deputy mayors are diversity hires. That's great, Eric Adams. How does that help New York? Listen to this next bit.
Have you ever seen this much chocolate leading the city of New York?
You caught that? Now, imagine for a minute if this was reversed. if this was the worst. Chris says there was trouble with the intro audio. What intro audio? At the start of the video? And Dupsy says all the world is a stage. Yes, it is. Imagine if that was reversed. Now, he just said, have you ever seen this much chocolate? And he gets a round of applause for it. Now, can you imagine if that was reversed? If I was up there and I had a majority white panel, by the way, all of his administration, all the people in those at that table are people of color. All right. As they say, if I sat up there and said, yo, have you ever seen this much brightness and whiteness leading your city? You know you're right if you go white. Can you imagine? Look at all this vanilla. We just going to run this city. People would be so freaking pissed off. They would be so pissed off. Sven says, keep on voting Democrat, dummies. And Urban says, everyone gets a skin participation trophy. Do they have those? And Helter says, change chocolate to vanilla. All hell would break loose. He basically admits he hires people by race. That's exactly what he said. And Sven said you would be done immediately. Let's pick him up again here.
And then go down the line. Look who's here. This is representative of the city. That's why people are hating on me.
Okay. So the reason why New Yorkers, according to, if we're following that statement, the reason why New Yorkers are angry at Eric Adams is not because of the sanctuary city status and the fact that they're overrun with illegal immigrants, not the fact that they're cutting funding from fire departments, police departments, EMTs, schools, sanitation, water and sewage to pay for the immigrants. Not because crime statistics are increasing, not because taxes are going up, not because he's under investigation for corruption. You might recall a story we read about a month ago. His campaign manager has been picked up by feds. Some other people that work for him have been picked up by the feds. He had been intercepted about a month ago, was it? Coming from an event by FBI agents who confiscated his cell phone and his laptop. That's not the reason why. It's because he diversity hires people. It's because he's black and he has black people working for him. That's the problem, apparently. That's according to him, that's the issue. Dragon says the old tired race card again. Mayor Adams' problem is that he's stuck back in the 60s and can't let go of his own racist thought process. And Urban says what's ironic is he's actually arguing for every reason to not hire anyone, quote, chocolate, since the city is a total failure. What am I missing? And it's not about their color. It's about whether or not they're willing or able to do the job. That's the issue. Are they willing or able to do the job? Let me pick this back up.
You trying to figure out why they're hating on me? They're hating on me because how many of you go to church? Ma'am, this is a Matthew 21:12 moment. Jesus walked in the temple. He saw them doing wrong in the temple. He did what? He turned the table over. I went to City Hall to turn the table over.
He was probably looking under it for spare change. You are not, and that's extremely arrogant. He's just compared himself to Yeshua. He just compared himself to Jesus. Oh, I'm just like Jesus. I went to the temple and turned the tables over. You are not exposing corruption. That's what Yeshua was doing in that passage. He overturned the money changers' tables because the types of exchanges they were doing there are things that would be or should be forbidden at the temple. What's going on in your administration that's forbidden in the temple? Or are you not aware of the story we just read about 70 people from their housing authority being arrested for corruption all in one day? There's a lot of corruption in the city. Several people that he's associated with have been arrested and charged. Remember the Bling pastor, close friend of Eric Adams, sitting in jail for fraud, for money laundering, for identity theft. Things that the Bling pastor, I can't remember his exact name, just the moniker, has previously been in prison for. Close friend of Eric Adams.
First woman police commissioner of color. First Spanish-speaking police commissioner. First Spanish-speaking correction commissioner. Go through the line of what we're doing.
Hiring people based on color and ethnicity and gender rather than people who are qualified for the job. That's what you're doing, Eric Adams. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Urban says Jesus had only 12 disciples. Mayor Adams has so many pieces of silver to hand out. And Zane has joined us. Glad you could make it here today, Zane. This is pathetic.
In 2 years. That's right. Because that's how we do it when you're from Brownsville. And so I know that many of you may stand around and say, well, you know what, Eric, we don't like this, we don't like that. I got it. That's the same thing they did to David Dinkins. Took us 30 years after what they did to David Dinkins. And who did we get after David Dinkins? Giuliani. It was a setup for a setback.
Kind of feels like a setup for a setback right now. Because New York is definitely in a setback. New York looks like it's ready to declare bankruptcy. The state is ruined. The city of New York is ruined, and the state of New York is hurting. When they're begging for federal funds because they're looking at possible bankruptcy, you are not running your administration properly. And Monkey says the mayor is what DEI will do to your head. Also, hello. Oh, glad you could make it, Monkey. Glad you could make it, Monkey. I'm going to go back. I'm going to run that first bit one more time for anybody who didn't hear it, the first like 10, 15 seconds or so, just so you get the gist.
We are moving the needle forward. Is there more to do? You're darn right there is. But this committed team is getting it done. Look at this team, folks. Look at this team. Look at my deputy mayors. First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright. Deputy Mayor, stand up. They need to see you. Deputy Mayor Williams Ison. Deputy Mayor Mira Josie. Deputy Mayor Amazar. Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer. Have you ever seen this much chocolate leading the city of New York? And then go down the line. Look who's here. This is representative of the city. That's why people are hating on me.
Yeah, that's why. Zane says, what is he talking about? Well, he's claiming that because he has essentially an entire black staff and black administration and black, basically diversity hires, all of his deputy commissioners and everybody in law enforcement are all black females. And that is what he wants to put on a pedestal. And he's claiming that the reason that people are hating on him is because of color and because of the so-called colored people that he's hiring, as opposed to bad administration and things that we've talked about here. Many things that we've brought up about New York, of course, issues with mass illegal immigration and sanctuary city status and raising of taxes and cutting funding from schools and fire departments and EMTs, police, sewage workers, waterworks department. They're all getting slashed so that they can afford sanctuary city. Mayor Adams under investigation for possible corruption. The FBI confiscated his phones and his laptop about a month ago, coming out of an event, and they intercepted him and took his equipment from him. People that he works with being arrested for corruption. That's not the problem. It's because he hired a bunch of black women to do jobs they're probably not qualified for. That's the issue. Sven says it's only a matter of time before the mafia takes back over and removes the police and regulatory inspectors. It will then be safe in some parts and not safe in others. This all ends in chaos. And Urban says, imagine spinning utter failure as some victory for civil rights. And that's essentially what he's doing. New York City is crumbling. I hazard a guess that many regular black working people would be fuming at the implications. And again, I would have nothing to say if they could do the job. If they're qualified and they're knocking it out. They're not knocking it out. And they're barely qualified. And he's putting them on a pedestal and saying, see, this is what I did. And then he has the nerve to bring up Matthew from the Bible and compare himself to Jesus overturning the money changers' tables. I mean, seriously, who compares themselves to Yeshua? It's like, I'm like Jesus. That's going to work out great. Simon says New York City is becoming Detroit and will soon be a burned out wasteland. And the funny part about New York City is, and a lot of people aren't aware of its underground infrastructure. New York City should be sinking, but they're constantly 24 hours a day They have teams of sewage workers whose job it is to pump water out from under the city to keep it from turning into a huge sinkhole. The entire island would collapse if they didn't do this. Look it up. I'm not kidding. So if that happened, where the city infrastructure completely collapsed and they could not maintain that, New York City would be under 8 feet of water in a couple of years. But speaking of corruption, wanted to share this really quick, and this is from the Associated Press. Former top prosecutor for Baltimore convicted of mortgage fraud. We're going to jump all the way to Maryland, and there she is, Maryland State Attorney for the Baltimore City, Marilyn Mosby. That's her. And wait till you hear what she did. This is actually this is stupid. You're the state attorney for the city of Baltimore, and you're going to do something this stupid and not expect to get caught. Here we go. Former top prosecutor for the city of Baltimore was convicted Tuesday on one count of mortgage fraud, concluding a lengthy criminal trial in which Marilyn Mosby testified she unwittingly made false statements on loan applications to buy 2 Florida vacation homes. 2 of them. Not one. 1 Florida vacation home's not enough. She had to buy 2. The jury announced a split verdict Tuesday evening after deliberating most of the day, finding Mosby not guilty on a second mortgage fraud charge. She was previously convicted, so this is her second time in court, on 2 counts of perjury in a separate criminal trial that took place in November. She hasn't been sentenced in either of those cases. The federal criminal charges stemmed from allegations that Mosby claimed a pandemic-related hardship to make early withdrawals from her retirement account and then used that money for down payments on Florida properties. Prosecutors they're not going to investigate that. Excuse me. Prosecutors allege she repeatedly lied on the mortgage applications. Mosby served 2 terms as state attorney for Baltimore, earning a national profile for, here it comes, her progressive policies and several high-profile decisions. She brought charges against the police officers involved in the 2015 death of Freddie Gray, which ignited widespread protests against police brutality, none of which were convicted. Mosby lost her re-election in 2022 after she had been indicted by a federal grand jury. Oh, man. Her mortgage fraud trial, which began in mid-January, was moved from Baltimore to Greenbelt, Maryland, over concerns potential jurors may have been biased by excessive or extensive media coverage on the case. So she lied. There's no way she did that by mistake. You did not mistakenly claim a pandemic-related hardship in order to tap into your retirement accounts early and then turn around and use that money to buy houses in Florida. That wasn't an accident, honey. I mean, seriously, lady. Seriously. And what she's best known for is diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff. Aside from the trial there, because there it is. It says earning a national profile for her progressive policies. I'm so sick and tired of hearing the word progressive. I had to add that to my list. Got to add that to my list, folks. Another word I'm sick and tired of. Progressive. I've got a long laundry list. A long laundry list of words I'm tired of hearing. Sick and tired of it. Urban says, anytime a politician or official seems to be spending beyond their means, how can fraud not be involved? Great question. I asked that of Stacey Abrams. How did you go from before the first time that she ran for public office for governor of Georgia? Okay. Before she ran, her net worth, as I understand it, was less than $200,000. Her net worth now is in the millions. How did that happen? You lost. You lost twice. She denies it, but she lost twice. Dragon says they find it funny that immediate charges come out about lying to obtain another house and property, and it's all in the news. Yet a president messes around and does shady stuff, but it's covered up. Yeah, but I mean, all she is an attorney or a top attorney, right? Top prosecuting attorney for the city of Baltimore. She's not big enough to start shoveling dirt on stuff. She's not a governor or a president or a congressman where she can get away with that. Now, speaking of presidents, I'm sure. Oh, there's Daniel. Oh, no, that's Miss Kitty. Hey, Miss Kitty. Hi, sweetheart. You joining us today? Miss Kitty in the background, keeping us company. And that's what Gary Smith here says. She's expendable. Yeah, she's not as big in politics to be safe. She's not big enough to be safe from that kind of stuff. Excuse me. And Dupsy says, I think they sell out and take oaths like the Masons. Depends on where you are in the Masons. Because most Masons, they're just going to a social club. And if there's anything going on in the upper tiers, they have no clue. They don't know what's going on. Or if there is anything going on. But speaking of the president, I'm sure you've heard this, so we may as well run it over. Fox News article. Let me pause that. I tried to pause it. Now it's trying to show me an ad. It says Biden tells crowd he recently met with Mitterrand, the former French president who died in 1996. He's been dead almost 30 years. President Biden told the crowd in Las Vegas on Sunday that he recently met with François Mitterrand, the French president who has been dead for nearly 30 years. The comments came while Biden was warning of the dangers of a potential second Trump presidency as he aimed to shore up enthusiasm ahead of Tuesday's Democratic primary in Nevada. Biden recounted a story he has told many times during his presidency, I bet, because he has like 4 or 5 stories he tells over and over and over again about a meeting he had with a French president, Emmanuel Macron, during a G7 meeting in England some months after Biden had taken over the White House. I sat down and I said, America's back, Biden recalled, and Mitterrand from France, looked at me and said, Biden appeared to trail off before collecting his thoughts to finish his sentence. Well, how long are you back for? That sounds really confusing. I can play the audio clip. Because it is up here. Zane says, didn't know Biden was a medium. Yeah, I know. Or, I mean, there are people. I think a lot of it is an act. I've talked about this before. I think a lot of it is an act for plausible deniability. That way, when he leaves the presidency, if anyone ever wants to come back on him, they can say, oh, well, he can't come to court. He can't come before Congress. He doesn't have the cognitive ability to do so. You see, he's crazy, right? But let's imagine for a moment that he is senile or does have dementia or some other form of brain damage. That's actually pretty common with people that have that sort of problem. They'll talk about people that have been dead for years like they're right there. Oh, I just spoke to Barry. I spoke to Barry this morning. We went out for breakfast. Barry, huh? Barry who? Oh, Barry so-and-so. Yeah, we went out for breakfast this morning, and Barry's been dead 22 years. And I'm not kidding. I've experienced this working with people. I have experienced this. Rodney says, I suspect that most MSM and mainstream social media won't mention Biden's latest senior moment. I'll go ahead and try to play the clip for you. Oh, hold on. Never mind, because it's muttering so bad you can't even understand what he's saying. Sorry about that. I thought I would give it a crack, but you get the idea. He said that he had just met with Mitterrand at the G7 summit. I mean, he might have met Mitterrand, but it was a long time ago. Maybe he doesn't realize Maybe he's confused. Maybe he just said the wrong name. Who knows? And Zane says Alzheimer's does that. Yes, it does. Even if it's somebody who's really close, it could be a child who died, a spouse, a parent. And they're like, where's Mary? Where's Nicholas? And it's like, yeah, Nicholas has been dead for 14 years, Grandma. No, he's not. No, he's not. I just put him to bed. He's in bed. And I'm kind of paraphrasing because I've dealt with that. Dragon says later he called back the former Chancellor of Germany, Otto von Bismarck. Yeah, there you go. And Dupsy says he believes that Obama is pulling the strings and Biden is a puppet or a talking head, and that very well could be. There's a lot of people who speculate on that. And Lucky says it's probably all the demons talking to him. There it is. Yeah, he's schizophrenic now. Is that the idea? Now, I wanted to jump into something here. A new pet peeve of mine, a new one. You know what? I got to add this to my list too. I'm running out of room on my paper. People don't know what this means anymore, but we're going to talk about it because this has already come up. This already came up, and we're going to do it again. We're going to look at more morons protesting at Brown University. They're at Brown University, and this is an article from The Hill. And Spectre is here. Glad you could make it, Spectre. They said they're late, but that's okay. That's okay. And Zane says he doesn't believe in demons, but that's a good joke. Yeah, they whisper in his ear. That's what it is. So here we go. Brown University student group on 6 days of hunger strike, demanding school divest from pro-Israel business. And here we see the kids sitting on the floor, looking pathetic, wearing masks because they're a bunch of pussies, wearing a shema with Palestinian colors because they don't know a damn thing about Palestine or its people. All right, so here we go. I'm already offended just by the photograph. You don't like the college's policies? Transfer to another university. Why don't you try that? A small group, it must be, I only see 6 people in the picture, but anyway, a small group of Brown University students are on day 6 of a hunger strike in an effort to pressure their school to divest their endowment from pro-Israel corporations. The strike was organized by Brown's Palestine Solidarity Caucus and Jews for Ceasefire, now ahead of the university's corporations meetings Thursday and Friday to vote on a resolution to divest from certain companies the strikers say are involved in the Israel-Hamas war. Show me a company that isn't. Hell, the McDonald's in Israel was giving away free food to soldiers. The group says that this will be the longest running hunger strike in support of a Gaza ceasefire since the start of the war, following a 5-day strike some participated in outside the White House. The hunger strike, which The Guardian reported involves 19 students, okay, it's 19, not 6, is meant to bring attention, the strikers say, to starvation that is happening to Palestinians from the war. I've seen no reports to justify that, no serious ones. Pointing to data from the United Nations that says most of those in Gaza are eating less than 1 meal a day. I don't believe it. University leaders previously denied the school's endowment is going to harmful entities, saying the ethics around the endowment includes a rejection of violence. Now, here's the thing. There was that hunger strike, so-called hunger strike, and I'll elaborate in a moment, at the White House, 5 days, okay? Now, they said, oh, we're going to do 6 days, and that's going to draw media attention, which it has, because here they are in the news in an article from The Hill, which is not a small-time local operation, okay? So I'm going to make the point again. If you have a set time, it's not a hunger strike, it's a fast. A hunger strike is, I don't eat until you give in, or I collapse and end up in the hospital on a feeding tube. That's a hunger strike. Okay? A hunger strike, you didn't give up. I ended up on an IV in the hospital and I had to quit so that I won't die. Or you gave in. Gandhi used to do a hunger strike. That guy looked like he was going to drop dead. It's not, oh, I'm going to go on a hunger strike for 6 days. I won't eat for 6 days. Look at me suffer. And I don't know if they're really adhering to their hunger strike. Is there a weigh-in? Can I get a weigh-in with these students before and after the hunger strike to make sure they actually went on strike and they're not stuffing their faces in their dorm rooms later on in the evening when no one can see? I don't trust these kids to we're supposed to be on the honor system and they're protesting something they don't even understand. Lucky said, put petitions on that list. Satan is driving me nuts with them. He's out. Petitions don't work. Sign this piece of paper and we'll send it to your congressman so they can run it through the shredder. Urban says, I don't believe for a moment they haven't eaten in 6 days. Zero chance. Rodney said universities used to teach students how to think. Now they teach them what to think. Yeah. And Monkey says a real protest doesn't have an end time. Zane says, I have known Palestinians for years, and so I side with them, but I disagree with Hamas. Raccoon says, as if anyone cares if they starve or not. I don't care. And then Zane goes on to say that they think Hamas needs to disband and that Israel should back off of the Gaza. Helter said that they're supposed to be the best and the brightest minds of Generation Z, yet they don't realize what they're protesting for. They're useful idiots. They're being manipulated by foreign powers. And Sven says that's fasting, not a hunger strike. Idiots. Exactly my point. Gary Smith. So they're starving for Palestinian hunger and they're shipping the food they don't eat to Palestine then? No, I doubt it. I very seriously doubt that. Dragon said these kids would be the first to be on the chopping block if our enemies took over the U.S., which is exactly the point. They would be the first to go. They would be the first to go because they're considered pathetic by people overseas. Urban says, meanwhile, the confused Jewish students are fighting against their own cultural existence. They should look up the definition of dhimmi. And Loyal said he just said they're all chocolate and represent the citizens. So who is hating on him? Well, that one came in real late, Loyal Tangi. Going all the way back to the beginning of the discussion with Eric Adams. But yes, that's basically what he said. And if you are that's a good point also. If he thinks that they directly represent the citizens of New York City in the aspect of diversity, then yes, they that the very same people that he's representing with his panel are also hating on him. And Lucky says a Cool Ranch Doritos fast. Must be. And a couple more here and we'll move on. Dupsy says indoctrination centers for the future slaves. And then Loyal again, he's comparing himself to Jesus. That's right, he did. Eric Adams did compare himself to Jesus there. Acting like he's doing the same thing. And basically, Jesus was having an issue with church authority. Not church, but synagogue authority. There was no church per se, but synagogue authority that was taking advantage of the people and making their own rules a priority over the rules of the Bible or the rules of the Old Testament, however you want to look at it, the Torah. There's 100 different ways to say it. But yeah, these nitwits, I don't believe they're really fasting. There's no way to verify it. Like I said, can we get a weigh-in? I think if you're going to go on a so-called hunger strike, you should stand on a scale first so that we can check you in and make sure you check their pockets for rocks and fishing weights first. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's how it goes. So let's jump to Colorado. Anyone from Canada here today? I know Urban is. You'll love this one. No, this is, yeah. Daily Mail. Colorado transmogrified woman's refugee status in Canada has been overturned after she claimed she suffered persecution because of her gender identity in the United States. I love it. Let them all go to Canada. You can have them all. Canada's federal court has overturned a Colorado woman's refugee status after she claimed asylum from the U.S. based on her gender identity. Transmogrified woman Daria Bloodworth, that's a made-up name, gained refugee status in Canada after successfully arguing that a combination of gun culture and rising transmogrophobia put her at risk in America. Bloodworth, 36, told the Refugee Appeal Division in 2019 that she had been stalked by her college roommate, who she alleged had threatened her with a gun. I bet that didn't happen. College roommate, you're 34. You're 34 years old. What are you still doing in college? Bloodworth, who is now studying biological science, she needs to. At Yukon University, probably on the Canadian taxpayers' dime, claimed she was the target of threats and violence from her former landlord and a debt collection agency, according to court documents. In October 2022, the court determined the Colorado authorities were incapable of protecting her and that her safety couldn't be guaranteed elsewhere in the U.S. Yeah, no transmogrified person is safe in the U.S. Yeah, sure. And this is Bloodworth. There's Bloodworth. Oh my God. Where do you even start with this one? Let me catch up a couple of comments. Urban says Israel backed off of Gaza in 2005. Worked out great, didn't it? Yeah, no kidding. Nature Nerd said still wearing a mask. Pretty sad. And Loyals, yeah, okay. Let me. Gary Smith says on behalf of Canada, no thanks. No, it's going to trend. This person's setting a trend. Urban says, Dear Americans, we have enough alphabet letters. Please don't send any more. Thank you from a Canadian. And Zane says, trans people deserve acceptance in society. Yeah. It all depends on your concept of acceptance. If by acceptance you mean being forced to celebrate something that I don't believe in, then no. If they want to, let them do whatever the hell they want to do, as long as they stay out of my face, because I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to celebrate it. And I should have the right to do that. I should have the right to say, I don't want to be affiliated with this. Helter says it's actually insane that she was granted the ruling in the first place, and she absolutely shouldn't be given refugee status. That's insane that they would even, and that's Canadian government trying to act diverse. Oh, look at us rescuing this transmogrified person from big bad America. See how open-minded we are. Nature Nerd says imagination, gender, persecution, dumb not to want gun rights. And Lucky says the mustache is intimidating. Yeah, there is a little bit of a mustache going there. Sven says she was squatting and trespassing and people wanted money. Well, probably wanted a free ride. I hesitate to imagine this person is working in Canada, that they're holding a job. I'm willing to bet that they're going to school for free, that they're getting some sort of check or some sort of like welfare. And I doubt that any of the claims about being threatened with a gun in a college dorm, I don't believe it. I really don't. I really don't believe that. As we bounce around here and we look at some outraged neighbors. Daily Mail article. It says neighbors outraged over plan to convert $1 million church property to affordable housing in Washington community. A community in Washington state is up in arms over the plans to convert a century-old church into affordable housing specifically for young adults. A Misi House, run by Andrew and Julia Kane, bought the Rock Revival, hold still, stupid thing, Center in Tacoma's North End neighborhood in April 2021 for $1 million. The church, built in 1908, is now going to be converted by the Canes into what they hope will be 11 shared rooms that house 40 to 50 people aged 18 to 26. People in the neighborhood are concerned with how the change in the facility could impact the area with dozens of new affordable housing units. I was looking for my death house. Hold still. And now with the Misi coming in, many of us are saying maybe we can't stay, resident Jean Elliott said. This is a family neighborhood. For somebody like myself who has severe limitations on mobility, this is a concern for me that I won't be able to park within 25 or 30 feet of my home, said Sharon Hincliffe, who lives one house away, and she's frustrated by the proposal. She's worried that the children in the area might be put in danger by the types of people invited into the housing. It's a largely family-centric neighborhood. So, and there's a lot of complaints from, these are just a list of gripes from neighbors about concerns over who's going to be living in that house and where they're going to be coming from and how it's going to affect the neighborhood. And it's legitimate complaints. I mean, we've seen where they've set up housing units, so-called affordable housing units. I mean, they want to put 50 people in 11 rooms. 50 people in 11 rooms, and that's affordable housing. It sounds like a housing shelter. It sounds like a housing shelter. Gary Smith says there's a trend for a lot of narcissists to use transmogrified community for attention these days. And Lucky says that's the Starbucks employee of the month on the first day. First day employee of the month, huh? That's quick. I'm not sure exactly who they're trying to put in here. It says 11 shared rooms. Where are we here? I thought I saw it. Housing 40 to 50 people aged 18 to 26. Are they homeless people? Anytime you have an affordable housing system like that, and you're dealing with people that are homeless, people that are being transferred from other affordable housing communities, there are a lot of concerns. This is all over the place. I'm going to have to close this. There are a lot of concerns because you don't know who you're bringing in. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what kind of problems they might be bringing with them. Are they straight off the street homeless people that you're providing temporary housing to? Are you dealing with addicts, former addicts, alcoholics? Even if people are on the street and they don't have a mental health problem and they don't have drug or alcohol problems, they often develop a lot of habits that could cause a lot of problems. I've seen where things like this have been done in Atlanta, and crime in that area went up drastically. This was done near a place where my wife used to live in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And her house, like within a couple of months after the affordable housing being set up, and it wasn't even that close, her house was broken into twice, as well as several other neighbors. So it is a concern every time they do that in a neighborhood like that. Whenever they set something up like that in that type of a neighborhood, there are a lot of concerns. And that is something they should be worried about. That is something that they should be worried about. I would be worried about it. Now, this is an article that my wife sent me. She wanted me to throw this out there. And the reason that this article bothered her, and this is from Food Plus. It says Food Plus words, 15 Black people party food ideas for a spectacular feast. And she sent me this article because it offends her. It offends her because she's tired of seeing everything be about race all the time. Every article's got to have something in it about race, or they've got to make some kind of division. And keep in mind, she is Black and grew up in the South in an all-Black rural community. And this bothers her. So we're looking at, and I looked through these, through the things on this list. I looked through these things on this list, and quite frankly, a lot of it looks pretty gross to me, but whatever. And I asked her before I get going, did you ever eat any of this growing up? And she said, yeah, a couple of things, but a lot of that stuff she's never seen. And also, a lot of that stuff she's seen white people eat. So how is it Black people food, as the article says? 15 Black people party food ideas. Southern vegan banana pudding. That already sounds terrible. Gluten-free vegan pudding, layers of creamy banana. Whatever. What else have we got? Southern collard greens with bacon. Single-serve baked macaroni and cheese muffin. Oh, that sounds disgusting. I'm not a fan of macaroni and cheese. Low country boil frogmore stew. What else we got? Oh, it bounced. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. I think I need to go in the opposite direction here. Go left from banana pudding. Nashville hot chicken tenders. Southern fried catfish. That's not kosher. Most of this isn't. Gumbo. Yeah, no white person ever ate gumbo before. Southern baked beans. Oh, baked beans. Beans with some bacon in it. No one ever ate that before either that wasn't Black. Did I miss something? Barbecue burger. How do you pick that up if the sauce is on the outside of the bun? Deviled eggs with relish. Totally a Black recipe. You see the problem? Peach cobbler pound cake. Yep, Black people. Slow cooker Hoppin' John. I don't even know what that means. Crock pot black-eyed peas. Mini pecan pies. Skillet bacon mac and cheese. Yeah, these Black people party food ideas are bursting with vibrant flavors. From fried chicken to mac and cheese, each recipe is a celebration of culture and taste. Maybe it's something that came from Black culture, maybe not. We don't know, but we're gonna make it all about Black people. Urban says their comment was deleted about the Christian church arson fires in Canada. Yeah, I've heard there's a lot of that went on in Canada. I don't know why they blocked your comment. To follow up the stereotype, don't forget the pound of powdered spice. Nature Nerd says Singapore was only once to make successful public government housing with many dense apartment buildings, but then again, they are hardworking, smart, and drugs are littering are illegal there. You know what they want for us is the affordable housing like in China. You ever seen those apartment complexes? It's like one building and it's got 20,000 people in it. No exaggeration. Raccoon says their mother is from Louisiana and eats all that stuff. She's white, by the way. Yeah, no, it's Black people food. Tell her to stop. She's it's cultural misappropriation for her to eat that. And Sven says love collard greens, little bit of apple cider vinegar, slap your mama good. Okay, Sven. She wanted me to throw that out there because she's offended by that, because she's like, why can't it just be like a Southern cooking recipe list? Food you might see in the South, food you might see in Louisiana, Mississippi. No, it's got to be Black people food. Black people food. Oh my God. Urban says plenty of Southern belles who are white and love that food too. Sure. Nothing there that appeals to me, but whatever. Eat as you like. Anyways, with that, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. We are getting to the top of the hour. Again, you are watching and or listening to Coffee Talk, and you can find me on YouTube. Please do, at Coffee Talk Live or at Prepper University, as well as on X, formerly known as Twitter. Gary, I gotta answer that one. Gary said, did black people eat this in Africa? Probably not. Probably none of it. I mean, seriously, I don't know for sure, but I'm willing to bet a lot of that isn't available in Africa. But anyways, at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter. Please do find me there if you don't mind. Thumbs up if that's okay. Sure would appreciate it. Fistful of Radio. Again, you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. Thanks again to everybody who was able to join us here today. Glad you could make it. Hope you got something out of the conversation. And with that, we will see you again tomorrow.